everybody? It's your favorite gentleman, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today we have a true expert, Mr. Nick Espinosa. Mr. Nick is an expert in cybersecurity and network infrastructure. Mr. Nick has consulted with clients ranging from small businesses up to Fortune 100 level clients. Mr. Nick founded Windy City Networks Inc. in 1998 at age of 19, y'all. This man is a true prodigy, which his company, which he created in 1998 at 19, was acquired and in 2013, where he is there as a CIO. Mr. Nick is here to help us get to a better place and do better business and protect our cybersecurity against cyber warfare and protect us with cyber terrorism. Please help me welcome to the stage, Mr. Nick Espinosa.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Gentleman Style Podcast Show, sir. You are amazing.
Well, thank you. Please tell my friends and family that.
I will. One more round of applause, y'all. Mr. Nick, thank you again for joining us on Gentleman Style Podcast platform. I ask every successful person, every successful businessman or woman that comes on my show, what is a routine that you have that really sets the tone for your day? Is it yoga? Is it meditation? What is it you do that really sets the tone for the rest of your day and that lets you know I'm going to have a good day today?
So that's actually a really interesting question. So for me, I tend to be, or I try to be very task oriented in my life, because usually my head's up in the clouds. I'm dealing with like 40 different things at once, back and forth. And so I actually use a process that was invented by the Japanese called Kanban. And you might be familiar with that, but essentially what it is it's organizing your life and organizing your tasks in a way that is very easy to handle. And so no matter what I have coming at me through the day, I can see instantly of the million things I've got to do, this is what I have to focus on, and it makes the day manageable every single day. And I swear by it. It really helps me out. I also read every single morning. I wake up reading more the news actually from basically the East. So like China, India, all of that, then the Middle East, then Africa and Europe, and then North and South America as the world turns as we sleep, just to keep informed on the day. And I really enjoy that every single day.
That makes sense. Who's someone you admire? If you say who's someone you admire in your profession, someone you admire, who has what got you into cybersecurity at the age of 19? Someone you had to have looked at someone and said, "Man, this is where I want to go. This is the path."
Well, so it's interesting. I would with my whole life story. I mean, I would probably credit my father. For that, in the sense that when I was 5 years old, he brought home our very first computer, to play with when I was a kid. And, I actually took it apart piece by piece, screw by screw. And after he got done whooping me, I put it back together and it worked, even though I didn't really know how to use it. And so I've always had this in my life, and so I've always been that person that just wanted to figure things out. And when I got to computers, I had to learn everything about it. Then I had to learn how they talk to each other, which is basically how the world works today. And so basically coming out of high school, I founded my first company for that. And it's always been with me. It's just one of those things.
Absolutely. I love that. Give him and Dad a round of applause, y'all. That's major. That's major. And so I love that. And so I think I am familiar with Kanban or something similar. Toyota created a system, and I think it's called the same thing. Where
Kaizen. That's Kaizen.
Kaizen. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So forgive me. I was wrong. I was completely wrong. So I'm not even going to go off in the tangent that I was about to go off in.
It's all good. That's really effective too, though. That's more process flow. It's a really interesting concept as well. Kanban is just simply an easy way to organize your life. At least that's what I found. That's my Marie Kondo, if you will. It gives me joy. So all good.
Love it. Thank you for correcting me. I love that. And so one of the things I wanted to bring you onto the stage about is Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, blockchain, the introduction of blockchain. It's safe to say that cryptocurrency is here to stay. It's no longer a fart in the wind. It's real. It's here to stay. But the concept of it, is it safe? Is it secure? Is it truly a secure system of currency that people can use? Or should I be worried? Because it's all digital, right? It's all open to cyber attack.
Right. Well, and I think it's important to understand, in terms of cryptocurrency, like any currency on the planet, a lot of it is actually taken by faith. And what I mean by that is, when we have, let's say, a dollar bill or a $20 bill, that physical piece of paper in our hands here in the United States, and we walk into any store and we give that piece of paper over, we have an assurance that that entity, that business, is going to take that money from us, and also that money is regulated. Meaning, if I store a whole bunch of those pieces of paper or that money in the bank, and you go in and you rob my bank and you steal my money, I have FDIC insurance, meaning it's going to come back. I'm going to be insured for that. And that's where Bitcoin kind of, comes off. I think it has a lot of faith these days. There's a lot of organizations and institutions out there that are now starting to take Bitcoin as it's becoming more mainstream, and significantly the technology it's built on blockchain. But there's also been a couple of pitfalls to that, if you will. So, for example, just news that literally happened today that I just read about a few hours ago is that Tesla has decided to stop taking Bitcoin, which dropped the price of Bitcoin way down, because Elon Musk, founder of Tesla and SpaceX and all of that, has been a huge proponent of cryptocurrency. And so by virtue of that, it is a solid currency in the sense that we understand people place value in it. People will trade, let's say, a US dollar or a euro or another cryptocurrency for it in that sense, but it's also unregulated. And I think that's something that a lot of people really need to understand, is the sense that, let's say you, Marcus, have, you have a Bitcoin wallet and you've got a whole bunch of Bitcoins in there. If I, as a hacker, break in and I steal all of that money, that sucks. Good luck. There's no FDIC insurance for something along those lines. That I think gives more seasoned investors a lot of pause. Like Warren Buffett, for example, will not touch cryptocurrency. Doesn't think it produces anything. Has no backing. Has no faith of, let's say, a government nationwide. And conversely, on the cybersecurity side, we also have problems with it because ransomware attacks and criminal hackers are using cryptocurrency to extract money out of companies, and law enforcement and intelligence agencies have a very hard time tracking that. Not to mention the fact that Bitcoin has held up as an incredibly secure way to basically handle encryption and move transactions that are validated along the blockchain. Meaning, if there's 1 million people in our blockchain and I give you a Bitcoin, that transaction ledger is validated by the 998,998 people, in our blockchain with us. But there are specific cyber attacks that we can run on a blockchain, such as a rollback attack, denial of service attacks that might separate you from access to the blockchain. And so basically, Bitcoin, and all of those cryptocurrencies, have their issues as well, but it seems to be expanding in popularity. And I think that's just a really interesting thing right now. But I think it's going to have problems going mainstream until governments start regulating at least their own blockchain, which is something the Chinese are doing right now. The Chinese government are looking at creating their own cryptocurrency for their people, and I believe they're going to be the first to put that out there with the faith and backing of the Chinese government.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Mr. Nick Espinosa, y'all, this man is a genius. Y'all see the genius on this man? The level of thinking, so in depth. I love that. I love how you broke it down. And he has his own podcast, y'all. Y'all need to check him out. He's on YouTube as well, at Nick Espinosa on YouTube. So check him out. This man, if you're detail oriented like me, I need stuff like that. I need that kind of breakdown to kind of make a decision, right? And so, like he said, Warren Buffett doesn't invest in Bitcoin. Warren Buffett doesn't invest in, and he puts it out very simply, Warren Buffett doesn't invest in anything he doesn't understand. And it's not that he's ignorant or he's dumb or any of that. He just chooses that I can't make sense of this investment. I choose not to participate, and that's okay. Right. There's no major rush, to invest.
Right. Well, the best decisions in life are those that are the most informed. Right.
True.
And if you don't feel like you're informed, or you don't feel like it's going to be productive for yourself, then why are you making the decision?
That's it. That's it. That's it right there. So I got one more question on the topic of security, right? And cyber attack. The iPhone, right? The iPhone. Recently, especially during the COVID pandemic, there were numerous ideas and and schools of thought around having a tracking system that allowed you to come in contact with someone who potentially had COVID, and your phone would alert you. And then there's integrations like Alexa and Siri and Cyrus and all of that, and Google Talk. So is the cell phone, is my Apple phone as safe as Apple predicts it to be?
No, they're lying to you. And I will say that in court. Feel free. Reason being is that Apple, and I will say this, when you are looking at the business model of the major tech industries and companies, Apple's model tends to lend itself to privacy for its users more sufficiently than a Google or a Facebook. Google and Facebook basically make their money by data mining you and your information, your likes, your hobbies, your everything, and then selling it to advertisers to target things. So, Marcus, if you like gentlemen's fashions, for example, they're going to target you for that. And here we go. Those are the kinds of things that they do. Apple's business model, though, has never really been that where they're going to give you free things to data mine you. You're actually buying very expensive gadgets and computers from them, and then they're offering services on top of that. So their stance on privacy, while it's not perfect, tends to be a lot better than Google and Facebook out there. But they've also done a couple of things to really shore up the privacy, such as in the latest release of their operating system for the iPhone and the iPad, they're now actually giving you scores, meaning the Facebooks of the world now have to disclose to you how they're data mining you. And now you either have to opt in to say, yes, I will be data mined by you, Facebook, or no, I refuse to do that and still use their service. And studies have found, the latest one has found that 96% of people, when given information, opt out of Facebook tracking, which obviously is a huge problem for Facebook. But there is this misconception, and I will shift gears on Apple real quick, is that Apple is secure. Well, if I have an Apple, I don't need a virus scanner. If I have an Apple, I can't get infected. That is an absolute marketing lie. We infect Apple products all the time. In fact, there have been major intelligence operations out of the Middle East where they were simply hacking into world leaders' iPhones and inserting surveillance software and all this kind of stuff. Apple, in their infinite wisdom in 2015, after they had a massive attack, basically said, we are going to change how we vet apps, how we let apps into the iTunes store or the App Store for you to download and install. But what they did was they said, our vetting system is so good, you don't need an antivirus. You don't need a firewall from a third party. And they removed all of those from the App Store. And so if you go and look at like an actual third-party app in the App Store for antivirus, like McAfee or Symantec or Bitdefender, they do everything for you except actually scan for viruses. And so that has been a very serious misconception. And we've seen over the years that criminal hackers have been able to insert apps into the App Store that are actually, actually infected or data mining you, and they are stealing an absolute ton of information. And then retroactively, Apple finds this out or figures this out and then deletes it. But that still means that thousands or millions of people have that app on their iPhone, and that's been consistent in their planning. So if you think, for example, or rather that when you're on an iPhone you are completely secure, it's not true. It's just not true.
False. All right, he debunks that myth, y'all. Here it is, Nick Espinosa, the man, the myth, the legend, debunked that myth. Your iPhone is not safe. There you have it. Sorry, y'all. So protect yourself. We are going to go to a quick commercial break from our sponsors of the show. Stay tuned, stay with us, stay engaged. We'll be right back.
Support for Gentleman Style Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers you precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off free worldwide shipping with the code GENSTYLE at manscaped.com.
Hey everybody, we are back to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. If you are just tuning in, we have the incredible, the amazing Mr. Nick Espinosa. This man just broke it down. He just debunked the common misconception of Apple products and Apple phones can be hacked, and it's been proven. So you are not safe, and you still need to protect yourself with the insight knowledge. And we are going to dive deeper and find out some ways to protect ourselves from cyber attacks, cyber warfare, and cyber terrorism. Mr. Nick Espinosa, y'all. Thank you all for tuning in to Gentleman Style Podcast Show. Mr. Nick, sir, so you just helped us got to a better understanding of how cyber attacks can affect Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and our Apple phones that we keep on our hip every single day. Tell us, what are some of the things that I can do to protect myself from cybersecurity attacks and cyber warfare?
Sure. So the number one arsenal that we have, or number one tool in the arsenal rather, is awareness of threat. You know, I like to tell my clients, I can build you a Ferrari's worth of cyber defense, but if I'm turning the keys to the Ferrari over to a chimpanzee, how far are we going to get? Right? I mean, that's true. We got to learn how to drive before we actually take the Ferrari out for a ride. And that's what we're talking about here. So many people fall for those phishing scams. So many people, accidentally type in google.com as opposed to google.com and go to a site that looks exactly like Google or Facebook or somewhere else and give away their credentials, or we think that the image or the picture that our friends have sent us on Facebook or Instagram is actually legit when it's actually an infection. I mean, there's so many different things that we can be attacked on. And so having that awareness, having that understanding, having that filter of distrust. In my very first TEDx talk was called Trust Sucks. And it was exactly on this, the types of trust that we have to have, for this. And so by virtue of that, I think that's the first thing. The second thing to do is to back up that filter in your brain, that distrust that you're going to have, as you're approaching something until you validate that it's good, would be to have defensive technologies in your phone that you're installing or in your computer as well. So the standards would be making sure that you've got a good firewall in your life. So you have a home wireless router that you're getting from whatever internet service provider. You can buy one like a Bitdefender box, for example, for your house that actually has threat intelligence. So if you accidentally type in google.com, basically it will stop you from going there. And if you can't get to the site, you can't give away your information. If you can't get to the site, you can't get hacked. The other thing too is we can install web filters into things as well that will do the same thing. So you can install the web filter into your iPhone or your Android. And so if you accidentally type in google.com, it will actually prevent you from going there. The other thing that we can do is we can install, outside of iPhone or iPad, we can install antivirus into everything as well. So your Android, your Windows, even your MacBook has antivirus. So MacBook people, I know you're not running antivirus right now. Go download one. I highly recommend it. So we have these things. Also, see, there you go. There you go. And that's coming. That's the marketing hype. That's the marketing hype from Apple, which amazes me. Like that they're able to get away from that, because if I can plug it in, I can hack it. So it's a really interesting thing. The next thing I would say too is get yourself a good VPN, a virtual private network. Don't go for a free one. There's a ton of free ones that are horribly insecure, or they're data mining you. Facebook put out one for free called Onavo. It's a company they bought out of Israel. And the only thing Facebook was doing was giving you free VPN access so they could record everywhere you were going on your phone. But if you get a good one, like let's say Private Internet Access or Viper, VYPR VPN, which is out of Switzerland, it's very secure. Basically what you're doing is you're not allowing your cellular provider like Verizon or Sprint or whoever to understand where you're going. All they're going to see is that encrypted traffic, and you're adding a layer of protection. Also, don't believe the hype, from NordVPN's commercial where they say, oh, well, I work from this coffee shop every day and I'm secure because of NordVPN. VPNs are not firewalls, which is the last thing that we should be installing into our phones, because even if you're using that VPN through, whoever it is, it's encrypting the traffic, but you're still putting your device on the same wireless network as pretty much everybody else. And that is a concern, because if I'm on the same network as you with all of my tools and my attack utilities and all of that, I can then attack your phone, attack your device, and keep going that way as well. And so my default answer on a mobile phone is, we live here, assuming you're in the United States or any country with a lot of infrastructure. I'm in Chicago. I've got 4G and 5G all around me. Why do I need to use wireless that is outside of my control? I just use my connection through my mobile phone, and it gets me to everything I want. I can stream Netflix through it if I wanted. It's got enough firepower to do that. So why would I even look for that wireless? Spend another $20 a month and protect yourself, because I guarantee you will spend thousands trying to unscrew yourself if your identity is stolen because your phone got hacked on the wireless.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Mr. Nick, you're like a brain surgeon right now. I see the passion in what you do. And I can say, like, did you all see him just now? He was like, scalpel. He just dissected and broke it all the way down for us. And that's huge. We have a question from our audience, Miss Erica Nicole Holmes. She is a tech guru herself. And so this question might go over my head, but I know it doesn't go over yours. So I wanted to ask it publicly. Do you recommend people to use Nanite when downloading applications?
Yeah. Nanite. And
forgive me.
For the record, for the audience, this is actually a really interesting tool, because you can go to Nanite and basically you can say, okay, if you're setting up a new computer, what do I want to use? Like, what do I want to have on it? So I want Chrome, and I want, a zip utility, and I want this and this and this. And you can check it, and it will actually allow you to download an executable that will unpack and install all of those things instantly. So you don't have to go to like 10 different websites and download all of this kind of stuff. It is actually really cool. Now, from what I understand, Erica, in vetting, Nanite seems to be good in terms of not tracking you. But what we recommend if you're going to use Nanite is to actually use the professional one. It's not that expensive, and it actually is business class, meaning the data security that they're giving you, as opposed to the free one, which they may track you in some way, shape, or form for statistics, but they're not tracking you through the installations that you're doing. It wouldn't be there in the business side of things, from what we understand. And a lot of businesses use Nanite, and they use it safely, from what I understand. So I have no problem with Nanite in that sense. The last time I vetted them was a few years ago, for a company I was working with, that was a client, and it seemed perfectly fine to me. So if you're using Nanite and you like it, it does save you a lot of time. So I'm a fan.
There you go. Love it. Mr. Nick, thank you for that. That's huge. And thank you for breaking that down. Ms. Erica Nicole Holmes is a VIP sponsor. So if you guys are interested in becoming a VIP sponsor, check it out. We'll place some links later on in the show. We have one more quick commercial break, y'all, before we go. But stay tuned. Stay with us. We will bring Mr. Nick back, so don't leave us behind. Stay with us. Stay tuned. Good day, podcast listeners. This is your boy, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I wanted to let you guys know that we will be rolling out a new feature and adding a join sponsor button next to the subscriber button here at the bottom of your screen. Once you click the button, it will display 3 membership levels. Gentleman Gentry, which is our entry level, Duke Duchess, which is our season level, and the Emperor and Empress, which is our most sophisticated level, which you will receive unique perks and benefits at each differing level and gain access to our community tab. We will also be sharing polls, upcoming events, and interviews, as well as receive feedback from our sponsors directly. Your support helps me find new and exciting guests to bring to the stage live. Well, in order to get the higher end speakers, it requires, you guessed it, money. So thank you for tuning in to my channel. And if becoming a sponsor sounds good to you, then select the join button below and choose your desired sponsor level. Let's continue to grow and serve the future of generations of men and women to come. Love you guys. Bye. Hey everybody, this is Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and we have Mr. Nick Espinosa on the Gentleman Style Podcast stage, and this man just broke it down. He recommends he broke down how VPNs work and a new technology I haven't even heard of, and I'm an avid reader, Nanite, and it's a good program. If you missed it, go back, scroll back, and check out how he broke it down in detail. But we have to get up our game and protect our businesses, not only businesses, but personally. This is good for both sides of the house. We have Target going out of losing your information. Apple is selling your information and Facebook selling your information. And then we got Experian, who has your credit score, losing your information. So we have to protect ourselves. And Mr. Nick is here to help us do better. Mr. Nick, thank you for coming to the Gentleman Style Podcast stage. Sir, with the proliferation of state-sponsored hacking, right? This is new. And we saw some of this in previous elections past, but how are businesses and governments defending themselves today from attack there?
Well, so I think this is the $1 million question, right? Unfortunately, a lot of businesses are not doing much different than they did, let's say, 5 years ago, and not many are really worried about state-sponsored hacking. But we have some pushes here in the United States that I think are kind of changing that game and requiring businesses to really just step it up in terms of cybersecurity capability and maturity as well. The first one being is what's called the CMMC, or the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. That is actually being pushed by the Department of Defense on the entire defense industrial base. That is roughly 300,000 companies across the United States that are now required to actually get certified in cybersecurity controls and capabilities to a rather stringent level before the DoD is going to let them handle that sensitive information that the DoD is using. And this affects everybody from the massive companies in the world that are building the airplanes, and the battleships and all that kind of stuff, to the subcontractors where they say, well, we need these parts treated, the metal treated, or we're building a Marine barracks and we need somebody to run the HVAC or the electrical or something along those lines. That's what we're seeing right now. But the reason why I bring that up is because the federal government is basically allowing the Department of Defense to take the hits on this, figure this out. It was launched horribly in January of last year, and it has been a hot mess for the cybersecurity community trying to keep up with this and figure this out. But other major organizations in the government, like NASA, the Department of Homeland Security, I believe the Department of Treasury now, have all come out and said, yeah, we're going to adopt this as well. And that is a huge thing that we have to contend with. Outside of that, a lot of businesses fall under things like PCI compliance for credit cards. So if you walk into like your local retail store, or your local home improvement store, because you're going to go buy overpriced wood right now, and you give them your credit card, you give your credit card, you have this expectation of privacy. You have this expectation that they are going to adhere to the data security standards they have to use that credit card securely, that they're going to store that they're not going to get hacked and all of that. Conversely, we have HIPAA compliance for healthcare. So you walk into your doctor, you have rights as a patient. These are actually civil rights that we have under US law for them to protect your data, not send it out against your will, which also includes cybersecurity controls for breaches. Unfortunately, we see a lot of breaches because a lot of companies and organizations pay lip service to the standards that they have to have, and it's a very expensive lesson. But those are essentially what we have right now. And when it comes to actual state-sponsored hacking, we have seen a rise in both cutout organizations that are being sponsored directly by an adversarial state, let's say here to the United States, or actual intelligence organizations running campaigns leveraging the existing platforms and technologies that we have, such as running information warfare campaigns on Twitter, Facebook, other major social media platforms, not to mention actually trying to break into things like government entities, think tanks, educational institutions, or those companies, that are in the government supply chain, meaning they're supplying something to the government in some way. So this is a huge problem that we have here in the United States, and I've actually been very happy to see that the new Biden administration is looking to step up the game. They're looking to increase cybersecurity awareness by software grading and other things as well. Recently, with the whole Colonial Pipeline hack, President Biden himself actually came out and said that we are going to be retaliating against that specific ransomware gang, DarkSide. It's one of the very few gangs I've ever seen have to backpedal and basically say it wasn't us, because it was such a massive hit. So it's going to be a very interesting couple of years in this, but this is here to stay. And I have to tell you right now, just as a cybersecurity professional, I have been more busy in the last, let's say 2 years than I have been probably in my entire professional life. It's been absolutely crazy. I was a redheaded stepchild for years on cybersecurity, and now everybody's just knocking down the door. It's absolutely nuts.
Wow. So that's huge, right? And my hands are shaking because I'm trying to calm down because I'm so excited, but I'm also very nervous, right? You've been busier than ever, and most professionals in the cybersecurity profession are very, just like you, they're very, very busy, and so
understaffed.
And understand why. So what's coming down the pipeline? What are some things that are coming down the pipeline that is the next big thing in cybersecurity or cyber warfare?
Right. So I will say this, and what I was saying previously, I did not mean to interrupt you in that last one, is that we actually have a serious deficit globally for cybersecurity professionals. Estimates have roughly 4 or 5 million open jobs for cybersecurity right now, 500,000 of which are in the United States. We have a very serious problem hiring qualified people for cybersecurity, and people coming out of college are actually making serious bank, even though they don't have the chops yet, because organizations are just taking it upon themselves to train them, my organization included. So that's a huge thing. But if we are looking at essentially where we are heading in cybersecurity right now, we have seen a big push in the last couple of years for 2 core things. One is supply chain awareness, understanding your business is in a supply chain. You're buying things from somebody, you're selling something to somebody else in some way, shape, or form, and understanding that, let's say, those people have access into your organization or your infrastructure in some way, and now we have to make sure that they are being secure. So if you're running a smaller business, you might be dealing with a larger business that says, hey, here's 200 questions on cybersecurity, answer these for me before I'm going to send you my information, because basically your bad choices in cybersecurity are not going to get my data and my reputation ruined. I don't have to work with you. There's a million small businesses I can work with that will step up their game. The other thing that we are really dealing with is a massive amount of data brokerage in the dark web. Buying and selling usernames and passwords and personally identifiable information is a huge problem that we have. And so by virtue of that, there's been a real big push in cybersecurity right now for advanced identity management solutions. The old traditional way that we would log in would be a username and password, and then we increase that with a username and password and a second factor of authentication. That could be an authenticator app or a text message, which we don't recommend anymore. But identity management takes that one step further for businesses, which basically says your identity is tracked. Really, we don't recommend texting anymore at all, because SMS hijacking or texting hijacking is very easy to accomplish. And so if I have a foothold into your phone, stealing that text message as I'm trying to log in actually becomes a rather easy thing to do. And so the last thing that we are really looking at is this identity management solution, and a more advanced and mature identity management solution now basically ties in all of your logins. So let's say you log in easily to Facebook, Twitter, Google, and LinkedIn, okay? We will tie all of those together into what's called a single sign-on platform with that multi-factor authentication, and essentially it'll have that. But once we log in there, we can log into all of our stuff very easily, and we're still very protected. And the reason being is that if for whatever reason, let's say my user goes weird, so suddenly I'm on the other side of the planet at 2 a.m. logging in 50,000 times a second to QuickBooks, the identity management solution says, wait a second, Nick's supposed to be in Chicago. He's not supposed to be on the other side of the planet, and he's acting in a way that he shouldn't be acting. So we're going to cut him off. But they're not just cutting me off from Facebook, they're cutting me off from everything that's integrated. So Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google all get shut off at the same time. And now we're protecting all of the assets for the company, or all of the assets for the user. That's where we're moving in this, and that is the huge thing. We have a very shifting face of technology use where companies are now starting to adopt 5G because it's so fast, and that is changing the understanding of how we are going to apply defense and technology and network infrastructure, because now the Verizons of the world are basically creating those networks for us, as opposed to us having to buy networks to build into these companies. So it's a very interesting next 5 to 10 years as 5G comes to fruition with that as well.
Wow. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Cybersecurity is something I have been on the fence about getting involved in. And so I've considered going to school for it myself. But I always wondered, I don't want to go to school and spend all this money if the outcome at the end of it isn't going to be worth it, meaning the pay, obviously. So
you will be paid. Don't even. I tell my audiences, hey, you know, parents, do you want your kids to get a really good paying six-figure job out of college? Put them in cybersecurity. Even if they suck, they will make bank, because we are so behind. You know, we are so behind on hiring. We can't fill bodies fast enough. And most there's been a real big push for development in schools in the last 5-10 years. I sit on the board of a college. I actually sit on the board of a high school as well. And they really push, oh, let's develop that next app, you know, that thing that you know will ship you your dog food 20% faster than the competitor kind of thing. But very few people are actually going into cybersecurity, getting into that defensive or offensive side of things. And those that go into cybersecurity always want to be on the red team, meaning they want to hack. Oh, I just want to be a hacker. I want to break into things and all of that. And that's a fun part of our job. But the cybersecurity domain is defensive, offensive. It's everything in between. It's compliance. We need bodies everywhere. So it is always a good thing. If you're going into it, full power to you, man, because you know we want you in our ranks. We really do. Consider
so
the pitch.
So where do I start? I love that pitch. Thank you for pitching that. Where do I start? Is the weight in getting my certifications like C++, or is it more about the education and getting the academic certificate behind me? Which one is more important?
Right. So, I mean, I'll be honest, I when we're in our hiring phase, we don't really look at college degrees unless they pertain directly to technology. So typically what I recommend somebody that's very interested in getting into cybersecurity is first, before you get into cybersecurity, get a deep knowledge and understanding of infrastructure for technology. And the reason being is that if you don't understand literally how data moves from A to B, then how are you going to capture it, defend it, break it, back it up? You know, you have to understand how data flows, how it moves, because that is essentially what an attacker is going to leverage to break into the company or organization they're breaking into. So getting that deep knowledge first, I think, is very important. And then from there, we start basically getting certifications. So there's some very basic certifications, you know, that people can go for with a little bit of knowledge. Security Plus from CompTIA is one of those basic ones to start with, and then from there you start to earn that experience. You start to get those certifications that look very, very good to either an IT company or a cybersecurity outfit, but also understand that IT is not cybersecurity. They're two different domains and two different animals. And you know, I like to say when I'm talking to a group full of IT professionals or IT owners, and I deal with a lot of managed service providers as well. In terms of advisory, I like to use this. I'm like, if you have never sat down with your team and considered calling in a bomb threat to one of your clients so you can clear the building so you can hack it, you're probably not doing cybersecurity. You know, it's a different animal, it's a different focus, it's a different domain. It's something that we really focus on in terms of thinking out of the box, because you know the attackers are going to think out of the box as well. We never know when that 12-year-old kid's going to innovate and break Google, and we all have to slam on the brakes and figure out a whole new way to defend every organization we deal with. So it's a real fun but challenging world.
I'm glad you made that distinction. Round of applause, y'all. I'm glad you made that distinction between IT and cybersecurity. They're two different things, so I don't waste my time or my money. I was about to go down the wrong path. Just to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, I will say this though. You need to have a good basis in IT. That's the infrastructure side of things. You need to understand that infrastructure, but if you're going the full IT certification path, I don't think you need to do that. Once you get that full understanding of infrastructure, that could be some basic certifications. You can then take that and pivot into the defense of that infrastructure by moving towards cybersecurity certifications.
Roger that. You know, the beauty of this show is I get to sit in and divulge and pick your brain. And I also get to watch the replay. So this is huge.
Right on.
Mr. Nick Espinosa, y'all. Mr. Nick, how can my audience connect with you? How can we grow with you? How can we learn more from you?
Yeah, I'm more than, you can feel free to connect to me on LinkedIn, / Nick Espinosa. I look like my picture, ideally. I also, I think, as you mentioned, I have a YouTube channel / Nick Espinosa. I've done some pretty interesting interviews of people, including Barack Obama's former White House cybersecurity advisor, and those kinds of things, various members of Congress and all that. But I also have an nationally syndicated radio show as well called The Deep Dive. That's probably on a NPR affiliate near you, I would hope. And so, yeah, you can find me anywhere. At Twitter's at Nick AESP.
Awesome. Love it. This has been absolutely phenomenal. This has been epic. I feel smarter just sitting next to you, sir. Virtually sitting next to you, because we still in COVID. But this is huge. Sir, I appreciate you giving back in this way. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to educate me and my audience. This has truly been a blessing.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you, my audience, for tuning into the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I hope this message has served you, and I hope this has been impactful and helpful and helps you take your business to the next level and protect your business and yourself personally. And so, like I end every show, because I'm still shaking, y'all. Like I end every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and take care of business. This is Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show and Mr. Nick Espinosa signing off. Love you guys. Bye.